This man was out of his mind. While flying a plane, he tied a rope to the control stick and, without caring about the risk of falling from 10,000 meters, stood up. He then stepped out of the cockpit, placing his left foot on the wing, with a parachute on his back and his eyes fixed on the landing spot below. His nerves were tense, and he couldn't afford to relax for a second. But suddenly, the rope that secured the control stick came loose, and the plane began to swing uncontrollably. The man was thrown to the rear of the wing by inertia. He used all his strength to try to pull himself out of the hole, but the out-of-control plane was flipping through the air, and he couldn't muster any strength to stop it. As the plane plunged rapidly toward the ground, the man quickly came up with an idea. He pulled out a knife from his chest pocket and stabbed it into the wing. Although the knife was sharp, it caused very little damage. Growing more anxious, he increased his strength, and soon a crack appeared in the wing. With it, he began to plummet toward the ground as the wing shattered. Though he narrowly escaped being trapped by the plane, he couldn't control his body in midair and was swaying with the wind. He decided to open his parachute. After several frantic attempts, his left hand finally grasped the ripcord, and he pulled it, narrowly avoiding death. He was relieved and couldn't help but laugh, though the process had been difficult. In the end, things had turned out fine until his face suddenly went pale. Because he had deployed the parachute too early, he was now just one step away from a cliff, but the difference between life and death was razor thin. When he regained consciousness, he saw a wild goat licking his face, but the next moment, he was horrified by what he saw. To his astonishment, he was still several thousand meters above the ground. Fortunately, there was a possible escape route directly above him, though it was slim. His strong survival instincts wouldn't let him pass up the chance. Looking at the smooth cliff wall, he came up with a brilliant idea. He pulled out the knife, untied his shoelaces, stuffed them into his shoes, then held a knife in each hand. He took a leap, plunging the knives into the ice layer, and with a powerful push from his right foot, he quickly created a makeshift climbing tool. With his eyes focused straight ahead, he tried to forget the fact that he was thousands of meters in the air. However, the excessive force finally caused the fragile knives to break, and he fell. Fortunately, the parachute caught on a dry branch, saving him from certain death. But the relief didn't last long. The branch was starting to crack under the weight. In a split second, he used the momentum to flip over, stabilizing himself. With his sharp knives, he immediately cut the parachute straps. In the final moment before the dry branch broke, he managed to free himself from the weight on his back, quickly retreating into a nearby crevice. Watching his parachute crash to the ground, even in -20-degree weather, he was covered in a cold sweat. Just as he was almost in despair, a bright figure above caught his attention, and a daring idea sprang to mind.